Next, it's wonderful to introduce Peter Jackson, Interim Global Head of Data at Schroders. Please join me in welcoming Peter Jackson, interviewed by myself, technology leader and advisor to Peace One Day. First of all, Peter, warm welcome to AI to Peace and to Peace One Day. And perhaps to orient the audience, you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you got to this point. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on this amazing feed today. I'm Peter Jackson. I'm, as you said, interim head of global head of data management at Schroders. I'm here to set up the Schroders data office globally. Prior to being at Schroders, I spent 2.5 years working for an AI startup in West London, privately funded by a British billionaire. And I was Chief Data and Technology Officer there. And we were trying to build up a synthetic data set of every household in Britain to help predict household behaviour. Before that, I'd been Chief Data Officer and Group Director of Data Science at Legal & General, another FTSE 100 asset manager. And before that, Chief Data Officer at Southern Water and the pensions regulator. During the course of my career, I've written 3 books on data: The Chief Data Officer's Playbook, Data-Driven Business Transformation, and Halo Data. And I'm really pleased to be with you here today.
That's amazing. And I think data is the new currency of our new AI generation. So it feels like you're very well equipped to help us navigate that. When we talk about AI to peace, what does that conjure in your mind?
I think it conjures an emotion to start off with, and that is of hope. And then that's rapidly followed by frustration. I see that the opportunity for AI to be leveraged to help spread peace in the world and for conflict resolution, I think fills me with hope. That frustration comes from, I think, that AI is being used not for that purposes enough, and it's being used almost in the counter to that in the defense industry, in armaments, in weaponry, and in creating a divisive culture through social media. So I think it raises those 2 very strong emotions for me. But also then, when I start thinking about it, it urges that creativity. How can we use AI to promote peace across the world? And then you start thinking about the various ways it can be done, and you realize there is huge opportunity, probably limited by the creativity of how we do it, but also definitely by things like funding and channeling the best minds at volume into those spaces to deliver beneficial outcomes for human society.
I think you're right. You alluded to the 2 big words there, hope and optimism. In your view, what do you fear most about the development of AI? And I guess a follow-on question would be, how do we make sure that we don't fall into those traps?
I think that is the question that a lot of people are talking about, the ethics around AI. And I think that one of the ways to stop falling into that trap is to bring some form of regulation, and the European Union are looking at that at the moment. I think we have to get our heads around that AI is in itself is neutral. In the hands of bad players will deliver bad outcomes. It's like a gun sitting on the table. It only becomes a danger when a bad actor picks it up and uses it. And so I think that we've got to be vigilant around bad actors having use of AI and access to AI to bring around bad outcomes for individuals and for society. And I do worry about the use of AI in social media. And that's where we might need to regulate the use of AI to protect society and individuals from bad outcomes. So I think regulating the AI itself, apart from the obvious things around, professionals should understand bias in training data sets and hallucinations and things like that. I think the regulation is around bad actors, as with anything that could be used to jeopardize people's well-being.
No, I think you're right. And I think that social media regulation is actually one of the really hot topics. I'm personally concerned about the future ability to blur the boundaries between what's real and what's not real. And it being almost impossible as the technology evolves to discern between what's real and not real. I guess as a follow-on question, what do you think, we often talk about use cases with AI. What do you think the real ability of AI is to create a more peaceful and sustainable world?
referring back to when I talked about creativity, I almost go back to first principles. So I've been thinking about this morning, waiting to come and talk to you today. And I started by thinking, what are the causes of conflict in the world? And it tends to be over resources, natural resources, one of which is water. And bear in mind, I did work as a chief data officer in the water sector for a period of time. AI could be used for the better and more efficient use of water or water recycling. And that's an example, I think, that you could unleash huge creativity to perhaps reduce the conflict around water resources, which may be particularly important in arid areas, or as climate change makes the climate more dangerous for us all, where water resources may become either too much, leading to flooding, or too little, leading to drought. And the use of AI may be able to help us manage those situations and manage water resources in those situations and navigate those difficult extreme circumstances. It may also help us navigate our way around the use of other resources which lead to conflict. So it might be sort of the more efficient use of hydrocarbons, or the how to distribute electricity around the world efficiently, programmed by AI. So I think that where I'd like to go, my mind goes first, is how can we actually use AI to reduce those factors which can lead to conflict and tension.
I love that, and that really resonates with us here at Peace One Day. We often talk about the pillars of peace, things like food security or climate action or international justice or education, which is why the AI to Peace show is so important to us. Look, thank you for your contribution. We've got a few minutes left. How can the community that we have here at Peace One Day support you in your journey?
I think the best way to contact me and to support me, I have a fairly large presence on LinkedIn. So if you look for Peter Jackson, Chief Data Officer on LinkedIn, and join me in that network. I publish regularly. I support other people who publish things that I think are worthwhile and move us forward in a positive way. That is where I mix with my network.
Okay, that's amazing. And so thank you for being part of the conversation. I would urge everybody listening to engage with Peter and take advantage of the wealth of experience that you have. We've got a couple of minutes left. And one of the things I'd like to talk about now is your inspiration, like whether it be, and you mentioned that you've written your own book, so perhaps you can talk a little bit about that too. But when you think about either podcasts or videos or books, like what from an AI perspective, what are the go-to resources that really inspire you?
I wouldn't sort of bill myself as a science fiction freak, but obviously it's science fiction that does inspire me. And as a kid, I was brought up on Captain James T. Kirk and the Starship Enterprise. And many of the things that we had seen on that program back in the 60s and 70s are now coming true. My mobile phone looks remarkably like their communicators. All we can't do is teletransportation at the moment. Perhaps it's a matter of time. But I think that science fiction, where people's creativity and imagination have stretched the boundaries of thinking, what could we do? I find those very, very inspiring.
Amazing. I think we're both old enough to remember Tomorrow's World.
Indeed, yes.
There's much inspiration from that. And perhaps, we do have some time left. Perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about the books that you've written.
Again, I kind of stumbled into it. I met a woman called Caroline Carruthers, who was Chief Data Officer of Network Rail at the time. And we both looked at each other and said, there's no manifesto, there's no manual for a Chief Data Officer, because we were quite early pioneers, you might say, in that role. And so we wrote the Chief Data Officer's playbook together. And that really was just almost a brain dump. It was so easy to write because it was what we were experiencing every day on how to do the job, the pitfalls that you would face, how to overcome them. And ironically, today I just met somebody in Schroders who said, I've just read your book because I wanted to have some guidance in my career, how to go forward. It's really helped me. And that to me is huge reward, that somebody's actually found something that I wanted to do useful to help them. We wrote that book initially very much for Chief Data Officers, and then we realized the people we really needed to educate were the exec suites in business, the CEOs, the CFOs, the COOs. We need to educate them about data. And believe me, I still think we've got a long way to go. But we wrote our second book, which was Data-Driven Business Transformation. And that was to speak to the business about how data could be harnessed and leveraged to transform businesses fundamentally, the way they operate, the way they work. And AI has just accelerated that whole conversation. Our third book was Halo Data, which is way more technical and talks about metadata. But metadata is crucially important for AI.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap up now. Peter, thank you for your inspiring contribution. Absolutely superb. Great to meet you.
Absolute pleasure and good luck with the day.
Thank you. Appreciate that.